Yeah, guys, welcome to the channel. It's boy, and I appreciate that you're here with me today. Look, I don't even need to tell you anything about this thing. By now, you know this thing better than I do because you've seen it around. Even on the channel, we had the black one last year where we took it like, yeah, you know what, we've done the road trip. I've done the gravel drive for you. We've done the night review already for this thing. So we've said a lot. I mean, like, I mean, a whole 1 hour video, we do have it on this thing. So from that perspective, I think today we just want to focus a little bit on something different, because here's the thing about getting a car like this for the first time. You get excited, and when you're talking as well, you're filled with emotions because of excitement and everything else. So I thought, you know what, we need to reflect on this thing. Over the years that it's been here, since introduction in 2023, I'm thinking that there's a lot that we can talk about, from value retention to how it is actually to live with it and everything else. And you know what, we just want to do it calmly. We don't want to be like too excited thinking that it's a 3-liter V6 and everything like that. Nah, we just want to be calm and look at it as a bakkie. Also from the perspective of just, you know what, because now this thing, when it comes to fuel consumption, I've already said this before, if you care about that, maybe it's not for you. Because when it comes to Ford, they're giving us access to 6-cylinder engines at prices that are a little bit more, I don't want to say affordable, but I think you understand me, because to get a 3-liter V6 right now, anywhere else, I don't think you're going to pay less than this. But without further ado, guys, let's not waste time outside. We're going to jump inside and talk about everything else on the way. Let's go!
Yeah, so I know what you guys want, right? You did say that I was talking too much the last time I was on gravel and so on. So you can see I'm putting it on Baja mode now. It's switching to 4H because that's what it does. When you do that, it switches to 4H. I'm Thing is, this I'm just doing for you. This noises and all these things, it's not necessarily for today per se, because I want to reflect on the week, but I know I owe you something, so I'll bring it in. I'll keep quiet for some time now, and then somewhere I'll switch over to normal drive, and then I'll reflect on my week, because I want to talk about that. I really want to talk about that. That's why I said it's not a review. But yeah, you know what? Let's just run, and then we will talk just somewhere, just there ahead. I hope this gravel is good to us though. Let's do it. Okay. The silence over now. I'm coming in. You know, the constant fight with this thing, you can feel that it's something else, especially because when it comes to this 4H, it's a little bit different than your typical 4H from other 4x4s where it's 50-50 split. You know, like the torque is locked from front to rear axles and so on. But this one, yeah, you know what, it's rear wheel bias, just that it gives you a little bit of control, because whenever it senses like slippage and so on, it sends torque to the front so that you can have some sense of control. Unlike when it's like on 2H and you know for sure that you're just sending everything to the rear wheels. That's some little bit of comfort that you're getting when you're doing high speed like this, because even when it takes like hard bumps, it goes up rather, comes back down and retains some control as well. So from that, yeah, I think that's why a lot of people are really enjoying it. I said I don't want to tap into my emotions when it comes to this drive. I just want to feel it as a person who's driving it every day, as calm as they can be. And you know what, don't just be excited, but it's not easy, because it's not a gimmick. It gives what they're saying it's gonna give. You know, once you settle in this thing, you will realize just how difficult it is to actually maintain like normal speeds. Because look at how it holds the gas. Look at that. 4 is enough. You're already doing 100. You're trying to control that, but you know what? You can't go beyond that, because when you lift the throttle, it shifts to 5, but I don't think you can even get to gear 10. No ways. But that's the thing that I want to experience, because when you're in here, it doesn't drive like a normal vehicle. I mean, the throttle response is different. The way it feels as well, it's like it's not on the road. It's like you're flying above the bumps. But I want to just take it down to normal drive, you know, permanent 4-wheel drive 4A. Just drive it like a normal bakkie on gravel. Yes, I will shift the exhaust to Baja at least to get that sound. But you know what? Once you shift this thing to 4A and you just put it on normal drive, at least you will not be doing those crazy things of pulling it too hard so that it can bring out the sound and everything else. You just want to drive it like a normal bakkie. That is powerful, of course. I mean, a lot of these bakkies don't bring out 292 kilowatts. That is a given. But let's just take it like a normal one. You see now, I'm already on gear 7, gear 8. You know, it's easy to feel that I can settle with lower speeds when I'm driving it like this, as normal as it sounds. Not as it sounds, because the exhaust sounds different, of course. As normal as it feels, you know, it feels quite normal. And somehow you can actually get a sense that you are in full control. You're not in some expert mode of some sort where you need to play with the tail, do this, do that. As much as you are still driving a rear wheel bias vehicle because it's sporty, they want you to play with it and so on, you can still feel that, you know, now I feel bumps more. I'm not doing high speed. I can be sensible with this thing. And that's where you start thinking, like I was saying, I don't really want to do a review, start talking about the 10-speed auto, start talking about the engine, the torque figures, all those things. We've done that. Like, there's plenty of videos on the Raptors out there, and even on this channel, you can go check them out. You start thinking clearly now, you know, when you're not doing this, because you're not influenced by the Baja mode, the exhaust, the excitement, the drive, and how it feels, or everything else. You're now thinking, you know what, I'm in a bakkie and I need to think clearly. I spent almost 1,300,000 rands for this bakkie. I need to think clearly now. So during the week, when I was driving this, I started having reflections. I was so calm about it. That's why I decided that, you know what, I'm going to narrate this part of the video. I'm not going to talk about it live. I'm not talking live right now. And that's mainly because I needed to sit down and think about this. Because during the week, I had this as a normal bakkie, basically. I've done normal bakkie stuff, more normal bakkie stuff than other bakkies that I've used. As much as it's a sport vehicle, I said to myself that what if someone really loves how it looks, you know, how it drives, the sounds. They just want to enjoy it, but they want to buy it as a bakkie. Can they really get fulfillment out of that? Because I had like 26 bags of cement in the back at some point, and I could, yeah, that's when I started seeing that, yeah, you know what, suspension is not tuned for heavy stuff, like carrying heavy stuff and so on. It's not for this vehicle, because yeah, the tail was down, the nose was lifted up. I didn't enjoy driving it even at the time, because I could feel that the weight rather is taking a toll on it. So I started thinking, what if this thing is just parked next to the Platinum in a dealership and you want to buy a V6? Should you take that diesel or should you pick this? And I started thinking, I think Platinum makes more sense for someone who wants to buy a bakkie. But if someone wants to get a sport car, this is it. There's no other way, because the versatility that it brings compared to a typical sedan and, you know, hatchbacks and so on, I mean, they're costing more or less the same these days. This thing, brand new right now in South Africa, is around 1,270,000 rands. That's sport car level, right? Even smaller ones, they cost as much as that these days, unfortunately for us. But the versatility it brings is that you can still put a lot more stuff in the load bay. If you are carrying things like furniture, your bed, your whatever, they're not too heavy. So it's not going to be an issue from that perspective. You're getting a sport car at the end of the day that you can come here and play with without worrying. I mean, it can go a little more further than other sports cars, especially because, I mean, we're talking ground clearance, we're talking the versatility of a bakkie and everything else. But as a bakkie, that's where things are changing for me now. Because another thing is, someone who buys a bakkie, they always ask the questions like, hey, what is the fuel consumption? What is this and that? This thing right now, for daily use, it averages around 16 liters to 100 kilometers. So if you're on budget, it's not going to be advisable that you look at this thing and think that it's a daily use. Because just to a normal run, like your 16 kilometers in, 16 kilometers back, you're like, yeah, the fuel, it's almost out. I mean, this thing is going to do around 450 to 500 liters on an 80-liter tank. So as a bakkie, you need to be thinking about that clearly. Yeah, look at how this thing looks right now. It was so clean when we started. But hey, the fun was there. We had the fun that we had. As much as we said today is not necessarily about that and the emotions and everything else. But man, come on. This thing, I don't think there's anything that is like this right now in the country. But let's not get too excited. We said we want to talk about everything else. Because right now, I'm thinking, okay, fine, back to the story. I started thinking, like, as a bakkie, I don't think a bakkie buyer who is interested in the performance of a bakkie, how the bakkie goes and everything else, will actually look at this and think it's going to give them fulfillment. But, you know what? Ford was smart for bringing that V6 diesel in the Platinum and the World Track as well. Because that's where the pride comes in. You know, I have a 3-liter V6 and you're driving a 2.8 watt with low kilowatts and so on. The pride comes from that when it comes to the bakkie world. You know, it can take more, it can climb more, do this, do that, whatever that they're saying in the bakkie world. You know how it goes. But for people who want this thing as a sport car, listen, you are justified. Even if you have to choose it over any hatchback, over any sedan, you are justified. I promise you. Because that's where this thing comes in. It brings, for me, it gives much more than those vehicles in my assessment. Because despite me being calm and enjoying the week in calmness and so on with it, I'm still thinking it's warranted, that need or that want that you have to say, this is what you want. I think it's warranted, because when I started thinking about value retention, everything else, you know, they always tell us that, you know, a vehicle, once you leave the dealership, it loses 20% of its value and so on, and the next year it's going to lose 20% of last year's value and so on, so it keeps going down. But when you look at the value retention of this, you know, the laws of demand and supply do not lie. This thing, you can see it on the road. Raptor sells. I don't know the actual numbers, I don't have all the data, but I know that it sells. And from that, you cannot divorce it from the fact that in the second-hand market, it retains value. I've seen that, I think the 2023 ones that have done more than 75,000 kilometers right now, you will get it for around 880,000 rands. I think it started at just below 1.1 million at around 1094 at when it started, 1,094,000 rands. So I'm thinking it lost what, just below 20% of the value overall, and some of them have done high mileage already, close to 100,000. So you're thinking, hey, you know what, value retention is sorted. Maybe if I get it at around 75,000, because I mean a lot of them haven't done over 5 years and so on. I mean, which one could have done over 5 years? It's only 2025 right now. I can't talk about, hey, reliability, this and that. Hey, all I saw for me in my experience is that people are dropping, like they fall because they do more than they're capable, or rather sometimes more than the car is capable of. So let's be careful on the road, guys, all the time. But here's the thing, right? Let's say you get this thing at around 75,000 kilometers, which already I would assume that it's outside service plan and so on. You also need to consider the costs and all those things to say how much it's going to cost, because I don't know what else you'd be fixing. And you guys can tell me which one is the major service, because you also need to be careful, because sometimes if you buy a car just before major service, you might actually part ways with a lot of money. But a normal service, I've seen that at Ford, for example, you can do this service cost estimate and so on the website. When you get there, you can see that this thing, I think for the parts that they do around 75,000 kilometers, it's around 2,000 rands, and then labor is going to be just around 1.5. So you can service this thing for like 1.5 thousand rands. And when I'm thinking about the insurance overall, insurance for these things, depending on your age, can go either way. You can find yourself paying 2,000, or some of you may even pay like 4,000 or something, because your history maybe is not that good, and your age as well. I mean, you are 23 and you afford a 3-liter V6 Bucky. What do you expect? So yeah, those are things that you will end up thinking about, and overall maintenance and so on, of course. Those are the things that you will never forget. And for those that are playing a lot with these Buckies, a tire here is not going to be cheap as well. Those are the things that you always need to consider. But I'm so impressed with its value retention right now. And I think it's driven by the laws of demand and supply. You can't run away from those ones. In my world, demand and supply plays a big role. And the fact that it's selling right now means you're almost protected if you want to sell it, even if you buy it brand new right now and you want to sell it after 2 years or 3 years, because you always change cars and so on. So from that perspective, as a sport car lover, you probably getting one of the best deals out there when it comes to the Fordrangerraptor, even with no emotions involved. As much as you can't ignore that emotions will be there somehow, somewhat, but I really think you cannot go wrong right now with this thing. It's just one of the best things out there. Seriously, one of the best things out there. I've arrived, so yeah, let me take some fresh air in, and guys, till the next one, I am out. Thanks for being here with me today. Really appreciate you, and I am out.
Hehehe